Let me tell you about the worst gardening mistake I ever made. I spent 3 summers planting the same annuals every single spring. Flats and flats of impatiens, petunias, marigolds, and every single fall I watched them die and threw them in the compost. I was spending $200, $300 a year on plants that had a shorter lifespan than my phone case. And the crazy part, I thought that was just how gardening worked. That you bought plants, they died, you bought more. It wasn't until a retired farmer down the road walked me through his yard and showed me plants that had been growing in the same spot for 15, 20, 30 years. Plants that came back bigger and more impressive every single season, that I realized I had been doing this completely wrong. I have spent the last several years identifying and growing the toughest, most return-worthy perennials I can find, and today I'm giving you my top 11. These aren't just plants that survive, they're plants that genuinely improve with age. And number 3 on this list, counting down from 11, has been in the ground at my place for 8 years and is currently the most spectacular thing on my entire property. Let's start at the top. Number 11, Siberian iris. Most people think of bearded iris when they hear the word iris, but Siberian iris is a completely different and far more durable plant. Where bearded iris can be fussy about drainage, susceptible to iris borers, and short-lived without regular division, Siberian iris is tough, adaptable, and genuinely gets better with age. The flowers are elegant, usually purple, blue, or white, held on tall, slender stems above narrow, grass-like foliage that looks attractive all season long. Even when the plant isn't blooming, I planted 3 Siberian iris divisions 7 years ago. I have never divided them, never fertilized them, and they've never gotten a pest or disease I can recall. They just get bigger every spring, bloom reliably in May and June, and look like healthy architectural plants for the rest of the season. Full sun to part shade, average to moist soil, they're one of the most adaptable plants I grow. Number 10, Astilbe. Astilbe is the feathery, graceful perennial that makes shaded gardens look lush and cared for. And it's one of the most reliable returners I've ever grown. The plumes of flowers appear in summer and create this soft, almost romantic texture that contrasts beautifully with bolder foliage plants like hostas. But here's what most people don't realize. Astilbe doesn't just survive, it genuinely expands. My oldest Astilbe clumps, now 5 years in the ground, are 3 times the size of what I originally planted, and they put on more flowers every season. They want consistent moisture and shade to part shade, and they're not great for hot, dry spots, but if you've got the right conditions, they're irreplaceable. Number 9, bleeding heart. Dicentra, bleeding heart, is one of those plants that people either know and love or have never heard of. It produces arching stems covered in heart-shaped flowers, usually pink or white, in spring, and the effect is genuinely enchanting. The old-fashioned variety goes dormant in summer heat, but the fringed bleeding heart varieties bloom repeatedly from spring through fall. Both types come back reliably and spread slowly into larger, more impressive clumps each year. They prefer shade to part shade and well-drained soil. Once established in the right spot, they ask for almost nothing and give back flowers every season for years. Number 8, ornamental grasses. I want to group ornamental grasses here because they deserve a place on this list. They are hands down some of the most reliably returning, consistently improving plants you can grow. These grasses come back every single year more vigorous. They provide 4-season interest, fresh green growth in spring, flowers in summer, fall color, and structural beauty in winter when everything else is dormant. I have a stand of little blue stem that has been growing undivided for 5 years. Every fall it turns this rich orange-red that makes the whole area glow. Grasses need almost nothing. Cut them back to a few inches in early spring and step out of the way. They handle drought, poor soil, heat, and wind. Number 7, Ligularia. If you have a moist, shaded, or partly shaded area on your property, Ligularia will reward you in ways most plants can't. It's a bold, dramatic plant with large leaves in deep green or bronze purple, and it produces tall spikes of bright yellow-orange flowers in summer. What makes it special is what happens over time. Ligularia develops into an increasingly impressive specimen plant as the years go by. Small divisions become substantial. My largest Ligularia has been in the ground for 6 years and is now about 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide, a genuine focal point. It needs moisture and protection from intense afternoon sun, but if you can provide that, it's one of the most architectural and rewarding perennials available. Number 6, Heuchera. Coral bells, Heuchera, is primarily grown for foliage, and what foliage it is. The modern varieties come in an astonishing range of colors. Deep burgundy, caramel, silver, chartreuse, nearly black, and the mounds of ruffled, textured leaves provide interest from spring through fall. Small spikes of airy flowers appear in early summer, and pollinators love them, but Heuchera belongs on this list because it genuinely expands and fills in over time, turning small starter plants into sizable clumps. It grows in sun to deep shade, which makes it one of the most versatile perennials available. I use it extensively as an edging plant and as a foliage contrast, and it requires essentially nothing beyond a light cleanup in spring. In colder zones, they return reliably. And here's where I need you to really pay attention. We're past the halfway mark, and the plants I haven't mentioned yet are the ones I consider my real garden anchors. The perennials that have been growing on my property the longest, that have never failed me, and that get more impressive with every single passing year. Number 3 is going to genuinely surprise you, especially if you've heard it's difficult or high maintenance. Everything you've heard is wrong. Stay with me. Number 5, Baptisia australis. I talked about Baptisia earlier, but it deserves full attention here because it might be the single most dramatic example of growth. In year 1, it's a modest little plant. In year 2, it's bigger. By year 5, it's a 4-foot wide mound covered in hundreds of blue-purple flower spikes. It looks like a flowering shrub. The foliage is blue-green and clean. The inflated seed pods that follow the flowers rattle in the wind and feed wildlife. It fixes nitrogen in the soil. It needs no staking, no dividing, no special care whatsoever. And once it's established, it will outlive you. I'm serious. Baptisia plants can live for decades. There are specimens in old gardens that are 50, 60 years old. Plant it once in a sunny spot and simply let it grow. Number 4, hostas. Hostas come back bigger, more impressive, and more dramatic every single year without any intervention from you. That combination of reliability and improvement makes them so satisfying. A single hosta plant will, over 5 to 7 years, become a striking specimen. I have some and substance hosta that started as a 1-gallon plant 8 years ago. It is now the size of a small car. Every spring it emerges fresh and perfect. I do nothing except clean up the dead leaves in fall. The range of hosta varieties is extraordinary, hundreds of named cultivars in every shade and size. They're the backbone of any shade garden, and the bigger they get, the better they look. Number 3, peonies. 8 years ago, I planted 5 bare root peony divisions in a sunny bed. I had low expectations. I'd been told they were slow and fussy. In year 1, small red shoots came up and produced a few flowers. In year 2, bigger plants with more blooms. By year 4, they were spectacular. By year 8, today, those 5 plants are enormous, dense, luxuriant shrubs covered every May with blooms so large and fragrant that I can smell them from the porch. I've counted over 40 individual blooms on one plant. Neighbors slow down, strangers knock on my door, my wife cuts armloads for the house every spring. Close-up of a massive bouquet of fresh-cut peonies on a rustic wooden outdoor table. Stock video. And they are, once established, genuinely low maintenance. No dividing needed, no special fertilizer, no spraying, plant them correctly and don't disturb them. In 5 years, you will understand exactly what I mean, and you will wonder why you waited this long. Number 2, daylilies. Extended varieties of daylilies spread and multiply with such vigor that once small plantings become sweeping masses of color in just a few years. I've watched single divisions expand into 4-foot wide clumps in 3 seasons. A dozen plants along a fence become a dense, flowering hedge in 4 or 5 years. Daylilies are one of the few perennials that actually improve soil as they go, building organic matter with their extensive root systems. The more established, the better. They produce more flowers and effectively crowd out competing weeds. If you have a large area to fill, a slope, or a rough area, daylilies are the fastest way to do it. Number 1, coneflower. Echinacea purpurea is number 1 on this list because of what it does over time. A newly planted coneflower has perhaps 5 or 7 blooms. By year 3, that same plant is a dense, multi-stemmed clump with 20, 30, 40 blooms. Year after year, the clump expands outward, producing more flowers. Meanwhile, it self-seeds modestly, just enough that over several years, you end up with a naturalistic colony of coneflowers that looks like it was designed by an architect. The wildlife value escalates too. More blooms means more bees, more butterflies, more goldfinches in winter. I have coneflowers that anchor their entire garden bed. They're the first thing people notice. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, tolerant of almost any soil, drought-resistant, and completely undemanding. Coneflower delivers more every year. 11 plants. One truth, the best investment you can make in your garden is planting things that reward you not just this season, but every season that follows. That's what perennial gardening is really about. Building something that gets better and richer with time, not resetting from zero every spring. These plants have done that for me. If you're starting from scratch or finally ready to stop replanting annuals, start with any 3 from this list and watch what happens over the next few years. Leave a comment below telling me what's already returning bigger in your garden this spring. I'd love to hear it. And if this video helped you, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.